Detransitioning is a term used to describe when a person who has undergone some aspect of gender transition, whether social, medical, or legal, chooses to reverse or stop that process. This may involve stopping hormone therapy, changing names or pronouns again, or even undergoing procedures to revert certain physical changes. While it is a real phenomenon, detransitioning has been weaponized by those who deny the validity of transgender identities. The narrative pushed by these individuals and groups often hinges on the false idea that regret invalidates identity and that trans people are victims of a trend or ideology. The truth is far more complex and far more human. To understand the misuse of detransitioning as a tool of erasure, it is helpful to look at a broader cultural practice: plastic surgery. Millions of cisgender women have undergone breast implants, liposuction, facial modifications, or injections. Some of them regret these decisions. Some choose to reverse them. There are women who later decide to remove implants, undo nose jobs, or stop using fillers. The reasons vary. Some are aesthetic, others health-related or emotional. But no one uses their regret to argue that women shouldn't have access to these procedures in the first place. We do not create laws forbidding cosmetic surgery because some people regret it. We do not accuse plastic surgeons of grooming vulnerable women. We understand that autonomy includes the possibility of regret, and that regret does not retroactively nullify the legitimacy of someone's decision at the time they made it. Detransition is treated very differently. A handful of cases, often sensationalized in the media, are used to argue for the prohibition of gender-affirming care. The experiences of a small number of people are held up as evidence that no one should have access to it. This logic is not only flawed, it is cruel. It relies on the assumption that transgender people do not know themselves, that they are being deceived or manipulated, and that society must step in to protect them from themselves. But this protection is selective. The same people who argue for protecting trans youth from transition rarely extend that concern to protecting them from discrimination, harassment, or family rejection. Their selective empathy reveals their true motive: to delegitimize trans identities and halt any progress toward recognition and equality. It is important to listen to people who detransition without turning them into weapons against others. Many of them detransition not because they were never trans, but because of external pressures, family rejection, economic limitations, violence, or lack of access to competent care. Some do regret medical changes, and those stories are real and deserve empathy. But they are not proof that gender identity is a fiction. They are proof that people are complex, that decisions made under pressure or in ignorance can be revised, and that our systems should be designed to support people before, during, and after transition, not just when they conform to a narrow narrative of authenticity. Behind much of the panic about transition, particularly among youth, lies the profit motive. Corporations have found fertile ground in fear. There is money to be made in producing endless videos, books, and content warning about the so-called dangers of gender ideology. There are entire media ecosystems devoted to amplifying stories of regret while ignoring the overwhelming majority of trans people who find gender-affirming care life-saving. Some companies profit by selling alternative treatments, detoxes, or deprogramming courses. Others make money by selling books or subscriptions based on a morality panic. These same corporations rarely invest in trans healthcare, trans education, or job creation for trans people. Their concern is not safety, it is market capture. Fear is profitable. Outrage sells. At the same time, the medical industry also profits, but in a way that is more honest. Providing gender-affirming care is not a massive revenue stream. Hormone treatments are inexpensive. Most transition-related surgeries are less common than the public imagines and often not covered by insurance. Unlike the billion-dollar cosmetics industry that targets cis women, gender-affirming care serves a much smaller population with far less economic power. If money were the primary driver, pharmaceutical companies would be marketing breast implants more aggressively than testosterone. Yet the critics of trans healthcare often claim that transition is being pushed for money, while ignoring how femininity itself is a commodity sold aggressively to women and girls. It is curious how critics of gender identity have little to say about the immense pressure placed on women to modify their appearance. Girls are taught from a young age that their value is tied to how they look. They are encouraged to wax, bleach, inject, tan, slim down, enlarge, conceal, and reshape. When they comply, they are congratulated. When they deviate, they are mocked or punished. This same society turns around and mocks trans women for seeking some of the same modifications. Trans women are accused of being artificial or stereotypical if they wear makeup, heels, or dresses. But what exactly is womanhood, then? If cis women have the right to explore femininity in their own way, even if it includes extreme surgeries or interventions, why is it unacceptable for trans women to do so? There is no universal woman. There never was. Women are diverse. Some have deep voices. Some are tall. Some are hairy. Some are infertile. Some are flat-chested. Some never wear dresses. Some do not like children. Some are aggressive. Some are nurturing. Womanhood is not a checklist. It is not the sum of secondary sex characteristics. It is not a behavior code. Yet trans women are constantly measured against a rigid, mythical standard of femininity, and when they deviate, they are told they are not real women. When they conform too closely, they are accused of parody. It is a trap. People who regret medical changes made to their bodies are part of every sector of healthcare. Women who undergo breast reduction may later regret the scars. Men who have vasectomies may want reversal. People who undergo weight loss surgery may develop nutritional issues. Individuals who receive antidepressants may experience side effects and later question the decision. These cases do not result in public campaigns to ban the procedures. We understand that medicine involves risks and that consent is always shaped by the information available at the time. Regret is not failure. It is part of life. And even so, the regret rate for gender-affirming surgeries is remarkably low. Numerous studies show that the overwhelming majority of trans people who undergo these procedures report increased satisfaction with their bodies, reduced dysphoria, and improved mental health. But this data is often ignored. Instead, a small number of individuals are paraded as proof that the entire field of gender healthcare is invalid. That would be like using a single person's regret about getting braces as evidence that orthodontics is a sham. It is intellectually dishonest. When we talk about detransition, we need to be precise. Not everyone who detransitions regrets transitioning. Some stop hormone therapy for health reasons, economic challenges, or social safety. Some never intended to transition permanently. Some later resume transition. Some realize they are non-binary rather than binary trans. These narratives are flattened in public discourse into a single cautionary tale. They were wrong, so you might be too. But that logic would never be applied to other aspects of life. People change careers, religions, political affiliations. They divorce. They remarry. They relocate. Human identity is fluid, and changing one's mind is not evidence of deception or delusion. It is crucial to resist the use of detransition stories as blunt instruments of repression. These individuals deserve respect, care, and support, not exploitation. At the same time, their experiences should not be used to erase the identities of others. We do not build public policy around the exception. We do not ban fertility treatments because some people regret having children. We do not outlaw marriage because divorce exists. We understand that freedom requires the possibility of change. That includes the freedom to be transgender and the freedom to change how one experiences gender over time. Trans people are not the only ones who make irreversible choices. Cis people do it all the time. Puberty itself is irreversible. Yet no one debates whether cisgender puberty should be allowed. The very idea is absurd. Cis children are not required to prove their identity before being allowed to mature into adults. But trans children are interrogated, monitored, doubted, and scrutinized for wanting the same thing, to grow into a body that matches their identity. This double standard reveals the true issue. It is not about regret or reversibility. It is about control. Control is what lies behind the moral panic. The people who object to gender-affirming care do not want complexity. They want a world where gender is fixed, binary, and visible. They want to be able to look at someone and know without asking who they are and what they should be. Trans people challenge that. We expose the fragility of gender norms. We demonstrate that the body is not destiny. We threaten a hierarchy built on predictability. That is why even a handful of detransition stories are so potent. They can be weaponized to restore order, to reinforce the idea that transition is a mistake and that the gender binary is natural and eternal. But the truth resists simplification. The truth is that identity is lived. It is embodied. It is tested. It evolves. For many trans people, transition is a journey toward authenticity. For others, it is one part of a larger process. For a few, it is a path they later reconsider. All of these stories matter. None of them erase the others. Those who detransition deserve our support. But so do those who remain on their path. We can hold both truths without contradiction. The existence of regret does not negate the need for access. Regret does not mean the system is broken. It means it must be compassionate. People must be informed, guided, and supported, not denied care. The medical establishment already operates under the principles of informed consent. The answer is better access, not prohibition. Better education, not censorship. More honesty, not panic. We must stop pretending that trans people are a modern invention or a passing trend. History is full of gender diversity. Indigenous cultures around the world recognized multiple gender identities long before modern medicine existed. The fact that some people today are exploring those identities with the help of contemporary tools is not a threat, it is progress. And with every step forward, we must remember that those who would use individual stories of doubt or change to erase a whole population are not acting in good faith. They are not defending truth. They are defending power. Let us not allow them to weaponize complexity. Let us not allow them to redefine regret as justification for erasure. Let us speak clearly. People change, and that is human. People regret, and that is human. People transition and detransition, and that is human. But to be trans is not to be broken. It is to be alive in the truth of oneself. And that, above all, deserves respect. Not regulation.